guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing another recent reads. Only two of these books I really enjoyed. The rest of them were just fine. And then of course I have a couple of DNFs to talk about. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I DNF'd is The Helsinki Affair by Anna Pitoniak. And this is an adult spy thriller. So in the beginning of this, we are following a CIA agent by the name of Amanda, and she has been alerted that a US senator is going to be assassinated. She tries to tell her boss this, they don't believe her, and then of course, like a couple of days later, they are assassinated. That is as far as I got in this book because I DNF'd it. It was extremely slow. It was kind of boring. I was not interested in all of the characters that we were being introduced to. The timeline was kind of confusing because the timelines were all over the place. I had to keep referring back to the book to figure out where we were at in the story because it just kept feeling like I was missing something. And yeah, I just did not have a fun time with this. I was kind of hesitant to even go into this because spy thrillers aren't the type of thrillers that I typically go for, but it sounded intriguing and I wanted to try something different, but unfortunately this one just did not work for me. So this next one pains me that I had to DNF, but I DNF'd it, and that is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. It's the first book in the Burning series, I believe. And so in this one, we're following our main character, Tao. Tao lives in this world where there are dragons and men are usually set to go out and fight in the military, but Tao doesn't really want to do that. He wants to settle down with this woman that he loves. A little ways into the story, Tao ends up losing someone very important to him, and that just sends him on a path of revenge. Like I said, he didn't really want to go into the military, but now he's taking those steps to do so that he can enact his revenge on the people that took away this loved one of his. There's a lot of fight scenes, there's a lot of training scenes. Eventually, I just got bored with this. I stopped 400 pages in. Usually I don't do that. Usually I will DNF quicker than that, but I really wanted to give this one a chance because so many people said that they really enjoyed this. But I don't mind fight scenes, but they just seemed, it was just a lot, a lot of just fighting and nothing else was really happening. But I have two major issues with this book and this whole revenge plot, because I love a good revenge story, but I have to believe in the reason why you are trying to get your revenge on somebody. And so the person that Tao lost in his life, I wish we would have gotten more scenes with Tao and this particular person, because it just did not make sense with what little we got, why you would be so enraged. I get the person that it is, you would think automatically that somebody would want revenge, but I just feel like I wanted to see it more. I wanted to see their relationship more. I wanted to believe in it more. And we just didn't get that. It was, this person died and now Tao's gone crazy. I wasn't a fan of that. I also did not believe in this relationship that he had with this woman, because we didn't see a lot of scenes with them either. So like I said before, these men in this society, it's run by a caste system, but they all go off to be in the military. He decides that he wants to set all that aside and just marry this woman and settle down and have a family. But I didn't believe in that relationship because we didn't see it. We hardly got any scenes with them together. I did not believe that you were in love with this woman. I did not believe that instead of doing what men typically do in this world, you would decide to set all that down and have kids and a family. I just didn't buy in to any of these relationships Tao was fighting so hard for. And I also just didn't like the character of Tao. In the beginning, I was trying so hard to believe, to root for him and root for this rage that he had and this revenge that he wanted, but he was just making really stupid decisions. Somebody would tell him don't do that, he would do the opposite. He would think about the consequences after he already did the thing, and it was just annoying at a certain point, and I really wanted to push through. At the point that I stopped, in his training, they were building up to this big battle to see, I guess, what type of soldier they would be, I guess. And that whole like battle, it was supposed to be like multiple days. They had to fight different groups. It went by so fast. And I think if we would have cut out all those other training sequences, maybe had just a few and focus on this main fight, I would have enjoyed it more. And also, there weren't any dragons. The prologue was great. The prologue really hooked you into the story. But then after that, I don't know where the dragons went. People kept telling me that if I just kept going, that the dragons would appear at the end. But why are they appearing at the end? This is the Rage of Dragons. Shouldn't I see dragons throughout the book? So unfortunately, I had to DNF this one. I hope if you still want to pick it up, you should. I'm in the minority with my reaction to this book, but if it still sounds good to you, I would say go ahead and pick it up. So then the next one that I have here is Technically Yours by Denise Williams, and this is a adult romance. So we follow our two main characters, Pearl and Cord. And back in the day, they used to work together and they had formed like this romance, but something took place that tore them apart. And so at the start of this one, we're following Pearl. She is working at like this non-for-profit coding company. And then all of a sudden, Cord ends up coming back into her life. He gets a position on the board at this company. And so their old feelings start to flare up. And so we're watching Pearl and Cord kind of navigate their feelings for each other and figure out whether or not they can have a relationship, if it's a conflict of interest because they both work at the same place. And so we're watching them figure out if they want to try a second time at a romance. I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't really care for like their romance. I didn't really buy into the reason why they didn't work out the first time. It seems to me they could have had a conversation about that. I also just felt like I've read this story before. So I've read a majority of this author's previous books, and the whole conflict of interest with work, that was the same thing that happened in her other book, How to Fail at Flirting, which I really love that book. I gave that one 5 stars. So it's kind of like they had the same thing. Like in that book, they had a romance, but they didn't know what to do about it because they worked together. This is the same thing in this one. So it just, the whole time I was reading this, I kept thinking about How to Fail at Flirting. I did, just like with her other books, she does include characters from different books. So we got to see Wes and Britta. They were in the book, The Fastest Way to Fall. I also like the side characters in this book. Even though I wasn't like a fan of Pearl and Cord and their whole romance, I like the side characters with her, like her sisters and like the banter between all of them. That was fun. But overall, yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. I just wish I was more invested into their romance. So then the next one that I have is Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is book 2 in the Murderbot Diaries. This is a adult sci-fi. And so we're following the character Murderbot, same character from the first one. So in this one, Murderbot has gone rogue and they are trying to go back to the site of where this catastrophe happened in the first book, and they're trying to get more information because they're not sure if they were the cause of the events in the first one. So in this one, while they are doing that, they are traveling on like this ship. And so they encounter this AI by the name of Art. And so Art is trying to help Murderbot with their plans. And during all of that, in order to go back to the place that they were at before, Murderbot takes this job working with humans, which is something Murderbot does not like to do, but they take the job in order to secure a space on another ship that will take them back to the site of that location that they're trying to go to. So I gave this one 3 stars. I was really excited to read this one because I was under the impression that we would have gotten more backstory on Murderbot, and I just didn't feel that way. I still love the character of Murderbot and how they don't like to work with humans, even though that's what they're designed to do. I like how even though they don't like to work with humans, they seem to just become like invested in their lives and ends up caring for them more than they would like to. And I really like the banter that Murderbot had with this AI Art. So my biggest complaint with this, that I just didn't really care for the plot. I'm here for the characters in these stories, and I wish we just would have had more characters instead of plot. I'm not sure when I will pick up the next book just because I've just found these to be okay. I do want to continue on, but this is not a series I feel like I'm going to be rushing to get to like the next installment. So yeah, 3 stars. So then the next book we have is Mislaid in Parts Have Known by Shannon McGuire. This is book 9 in the Wayward Children series, and this is a portal fantasy. And so we are following the same character that we followed in the previous book, which was Lost in the Moment and Found, and that character is Ancy. So Ancy has made it to the school, and we follow her as she is starting to make friends. So we start to see some characters from the other books in this one, and so people start to find out that Ancy is able to find anything, which is kind of dangerous for Ancy because these children that go to the school, they always want to go back to the world they came from. And so because Ancy can find anything, including doors, students are starting to like harass her and want her to find their doors for them. And so a group of students who we've seen in the previous books, they befriend Ancy and try to get her away from the school so she is not harassed by these other students. During that time, they find themselves back in Ancy's world. And so Ancy is able to confront some things that took place in her world. She's able to confront some characters that had taken advantage of her. And we also travel through some other doors. One of those doors being like, I forget what it's called, but it's like Dinosaur Land, hence the cover of this book. And so we're just following these group of kids as they are helping Ancy with some things that she needed to take care of, and while they're trying to get back to their school. I gave this one 3 stars. I'm actually slightly disappointed that I did not enjoy this as much. So I really like that we were following Ancy because so far I think Ancy was one of my favorite characters out of this book, out of the series, because I really felt for her in her book Lost in the Moment and Found. And so I was really excited that she was able to confront some of the things that she needed to from her story. I also liked that we got the group back together, these group of kids, because I like all of them. I like when they get together. I like their banter with each other. It's just a fun time. I also really like the character of Sumi. She is a part of the group in here, and I just think she brings so much humor to the stories. And I like that, just like with all of these books, this story has a message. It revolves around kids and how we should be able to tell kids the truth about anything because they have things to lose just like adults do. My biggest disappointment with this is I really liked it when we went to their dinosaur world, but we didn't get to really explore that world. I'm not sure if that is going to come up later, but it was really fun to be there, and I just wish we would have gotten more. So if you're going into this thinking you're going to be in this dino land, no, you're going to be there for like a couple of pages and that's it. But overall, I mean, it was fun. Still going to continue on in the series. It's just not my favorite book in the series. So then the next book that I have here is The Other Mothers by Catherine Faulkner. This is a adult mystery thriller. And in this one, we are following our main character, Tash. She is a newer mother. I think her son is like just under 2 years old. She's married to Tom, and she is a freelance journalist. And so at the beginning of the story, we read this article that she had written like months prior about this nanny, Sophie, that was found like washed ashore. Apparently she had drowned. Sophie's mother, Jade, comes to Tash and tells her, that's not what happened. I believe my daughter was murdered. I don't appreciate you writing that story, and you need to investigate what really happened to her. So that's what Tash does. She decides that she is going to truly figure out what happened to this nanny, Sophie. While she's trying to do all of that, she is kind of like struggling with raising her young son and just trying to get used to motherhood, and she ends up joining these group of mothers in like this play group. When she gets in with this group of mothers, she starts to learn that they in fact know Sophie and that they're hiding some sort of secret, and it is now Tash's job to find out what that secret is. I gave this 4 stars. This was what I was needing at the time that I read this. I loved the mess in here because everybody is messy. Nobody is necessarily good. These group of mothers are something else. And I just liked how throughout the story we slowly start to learn like all of their secrets and how they're tied together, how they could be potentially tied to Sophie. And I liked how this touched on motherhood and how mothers struggle differently, postpartum depression, and how some people have, like, I guess, worse effects of postpartum than other people, and how people choose to deal with it. And I liked in here that we got flashback chapters from Sophie's POV and the events leading up to the night she was quote unquote drowned. So I really, really like that. I like the twists in here. They happened all the way up into the very end of the story. And I just loved how this story ended. So if you have not checked this out, I would highly recommend it. I don't want to say it's slow because stuff is happening. It's just not like a really fast-paced story, but you will be intrigued from beginning to end, I promise. Then the last book that I have to talk about is Bad Fat Black Girl by Cecily Bowen. This is a memoir, so it's nonfiction about this author's life. And I have stated a little while ago that I no longer rate like memoirs because I just don't feel like it's right for me to rate somebody's story. But out of all of the books that I have just talked about, this one is by far my favorite that I read. This is the author's memoir, but I just like what she did with this. So she just related everything that happened to her life to feminism. She calls it trap feminism. She uses a lot of like rap lyrics to relate back to feminism. At the head of every chapter, she uses, I think, like some sort of like rap lyric that relates to the topic that she is about to talk about. My favorite topic in here, or the two chapters that I really liked, is when she talked about like dating and friendship. Those chapters spoke to me, and I think that they will be relatable to anybody that reads this. I did listen to this on audio. If you are going to check this out, I would definitely suggest checking out the audiobook because she narrates it herself and it was fantastic. I just like the language that she used. It was very relatable to me. And I liked that she was just very open and honest about her like upbringing and the things that she decided to share, because I'm not sure if some of this stuff I would share it, but she did, and I appreciated it. I also loved that throughout the story, she had like hood definitions. So she would describe different terms. This one isn't that big, but she defines like what bougie is. I know at one point she describes why like Black women wear headscarves. She describes what a bad bitch is. Like, I just loved the story. It was very entertaining. It was very real. It was very raw. People have recommended this to me for so long, and I'm glad that I finally picked it up. And I think everybody should read this. If you're not like a nonfiction reader, I think this will definitely change your mind. So like I said, out of all the books that I've read, even though I did not rate this one was my favorite. So that is actually all that I have for you guys. And if you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts down below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.